Bula, good morning everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming this morning and also for inviting me to come from Australia. I want to also apologise on behalf of my colleague Richard Markham, who lives here in Suva, but unfortunately today he has a clash of another meeting under the FAO TCP program, so he's over in Sigatoga, and I'll be speaking on his behalf later in the agenda also. I've been the ACIAR Forestry Program Manager now for 2 years, and when I first joined ACIAR, the last cocoa wood project was just being finalised, and in fact I worked with Tony Bartlett to finalise the final report for that project. And for me, having worked in Vanuatu in the 1990s, I understand just how important coconut trees are in the whole Pacific Island culture. And one of the really good things about ACIAR is that what we try to do is to develop a collaborative partnership approach towards research to address issues that are of vital importance in local countries and region. So when you talk about coconuts in the Pacific, it's really good to have amongst my portfolio of forestry projects a project on coconut in the Pacific. So I'm only going to give a very short presentation now. Actually, usually when I come to a workshop like this, I talk quite broadly about ACIAR's forestry program, but I thought today it's probably more important just to focus on this particular project. But just to set a little bit of context, ACIAR's forestry program, it's one of the largest programs in ACIAR. I think it's about number 3 or 4 in the order of most amount of projects and value. So ACIAR has 14 programs altogether: Pacific Crops, the one that Richard Markham manages, fisheries, forestry, horticulture, livestock, and the list keeps going. So each program has projects in different countries. In the case of, in the case of the forestry program, up until the 30th of June, my program worked in 7 countries in Asia Pacific, starting from Laos, Vietnam, Indonesia, then moving into the Pacific with Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and Fiji, with a link to the Samoa through the coconut, previous cocoa wood project. But from the end of June, starting in this financial year, my program is expanding into Africa, where we have a new agroforestry project working in 4 countries in Africa, and also we're just currently trying to develop a new community forestry, agroforestry research project for Nepal in the Himalayas. So the program is growing, which really represents the Australian government's commitment to double the amount of assistance it gives to developing countries over the next few years. So ACIAR's program is growing in line with AusAID's program. Okay, page down is... There we go. Okay, so just briefly, what is my program all about? Well, we use the model where we identify priorities in partner countries, and tomorrow I'll be having some discussions here about priorities for Fiji. But really what we're trying to do in forestry is really enhance the role that trees play in people's livelihoods, and along the way look after sustainable management of resources. So ACIAR's programs all over, in line with Australian government policies, match against the Millennium Development Goals. So mostly we're working on improving food security, but we also work on sustainable resource management, and reducing poverty through enhancing livelihoods is also quite important. So they're the 3 Millennium Development Goals that overall ACIAR tends to contribute to. And we also try to achieve work that lines up with the general global consensus on what needs to be done through the United Nations Forum on Forests, and also the international commitments to improve sustainable management of forests, and Australia's interest in trying to reduce things like illegal logging. But one thing that sets us, I guess, apart in some ways from some other organisations is that, for instance, if an Australian researcher like Greg called me up one day in Canberra and said, "We'd like to. I've got a good idea for a project, and this is the idea." And my first response always is, "Well, you need to go and talk to the partner countries, because Australia's International Agricultural Research Program is really based on putting together collaborative research partnerships that come from a request from partner countries." And then the idea, and ACIAR is now about 30 years old, and the idea which came when ACIAR was first started, which hasn't changed, is that we respond to the needs of the partner countries, and we do that in a way where we find scientists from Australia and sometimes from international research institutes to work with collaborators in partner countries to address the problem that the people in the partner countries have identified. And along the way, we develop a solution that is right for that particular system, and we also build capacity in the local people so that in future they also can work on problems themselves. So that's the concept. Okay, this is where my program currently works. As I said, I need to update this now to take account of the new projects coming online. But the Pacific is about a quarter of my program, and that's spread across mainly Vanuatu, Solomons and Fiji. And then if you add what we do in Papua New Guinea as well, you'll see that almost half the program is in the Pacific. So it's a very important part of the overall forestry program. And that's been like that for quite some time. The reason mainly is that forests and trees are important in Pacific countries, and there are near neighbour countries, and that's why we focus on forestry in the Pacific as part of ACIAR's program.